Council podcast. Today, my fellow co-hosts, we have Deadpool. Say hi.
Hello, everyone.
We got Mr. Guy,
Brought my lunch.
and then we got Vector.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Finally on because he couldn't make the last one.
It's okay. Days are apparently good days. And today I got lucky enough to get off at 2 o'clock so I could binge watch all three of these movies.
Exactly. So, today is a bit different from the last time. Today we have a review, and the review is of a movie that is on Netflix. So massive spoiler alert, by the way. It's Fear Street, and this is a review of Part 1, which is based in 1994. So we've all watched this movie in preparation for the podcast, obviously, because it's a review. Yeah. So the one that suggested this was Deadpool. So I think that Deadpool might, you can start off by saying anything you want to say. Do you want to, maybe go into what the movie is about, or?
Rabbit
Yeah,
tails,
so-
here we come.
Essentially, it's a horror movie.
Whoa.
No, yeah,
Oh,
that's crazy,
God.
right? Who would have
That's
known?
crazy.
Holy shit, you just blew my mind.
Who would have thunk,
Yeah,
eh?
essentially, it's a movie about, to play it down a little bit, but not really. It's a movie about a string of killings in a town that has like super high killing throughout the past, like super high kill ratings or whatever the word is I'm looking for.
Serial
And
killers?
then
Yeah.
yeah, like the numbers of kills
A
in the
bunch of
past years
murders.
has been super high. And then the neighboring town, I believe the name was Sunnydale or Sunnyvale,
Sunnyvale, yeah.
has
There's
no
Sunnyvale
victims.
And then Shady.
And Shadeside, yep.
Yep.
So essentially it's this group of younger people trying to figure out why their town is cursed with this serial killer string of events, and the town that's less than 10 miles away isn't. So yeah, it comes out, it starts off strong, showing, like most horror movies do, shows the first murder in a mall. Spoilers, by the way.
This whole thing is spoilers. In big text, when we put it on YouTube, we just put spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just put it over the basic thumbnail, just like spoilers. Be careful.
Just have it, put it in its own chair.
Yeah, just put like
Spoilers.
spoilers in his own chair. Yeah, okay.
Or
Red
like-
letters, spoilers.
Or have like Superman flying up in the background, like when he was holding the big meteor
Yeah.
kryptonite. He just has spoilers on the back.
Yeah.
I might do that.
Anyway, so it boils down to, there's a big conspiracy going on where one town is having a shit ton of murders and the other town isn't. The names kind of foreshadow and have a play in that. I mean, you have Sunnyvale, which is untouched by any murders or crime, and then you have Shadyside, which is like the slums and everybody keeps dying, and there's a high crime rating. So it's pretty cool starting off like that. My opinion on the movie as a whole, it's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
It's one of the very few newer horror movies that I thoroughly enjoyed from beginning to end.
Yeah.
It keeps you on the edge of your seat, like you don't know what's going to happen. Everything that happens surprises you, and I think it's just an absolute blow out of the park for a horror movie.
Yeah, and I think what you said as well with like when it comes to modern horror, it's a real what was it called? Like it's a breath of fresh air,
Throwback?
realistically, because there's been
Yeah.
a lot of modern horror that isn't there. There's been a few good ones here and there, but like in general, modern horror has a tendency to be a bit shit. So it was really a breath
Nah,
of
it's
fresh air.
not as good as the older ones that
Yeah,
a lot of older audiences grew up with. Like, you have your classic Friday the 13th, Scream, Poltergeist, like the big
yeah,
and Exorcist. Like, you have all of those big names that a lot of these newer movies just don't get a hold of candle to. And
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that this was a very good homage to the slasher horror genre, which
Yeah.
spoiler alert, it is.
Yeah.
You can see a lot of the callbacks that they try to, like, literally the first scene in the mall is literally a direct, like, almost
It's
rip
just
off
straight
of
out of
Scream and
Yeah.
how
Yeah,
he
yeah.
targeted his victim. Like those little touches will make horror fans really happy.
Yeah, there's
There's
a
small
lot of
little Easter
nostalgia in
eggs
it.
throughout it. Yeah, it's just small little Easter eggs throughout it that'll really any horror fan or anyone who even just enjoys watching horror. You don't even have to be a horror fan. Just it's a movie. It's a movie type that you like.
Yeah.
What it feels like.
It's
to me
just
is
really like it's a
movies-
solid horror movie in my opinion, and
Yeah.
I'm a really big horror movie fanatic.
Yeah.
And so to see all these like little references and touches that they put on, it really made me happy that they appreciated enough to reference it and pay homage to them.
You can definitely tell that the director who was doing this movie, I can't remember her name, but it was a female.
Lee Janiak.
Yeah.
Yeah, she put
Wikipedia
her
page,
heart and
fucking
soul
cheater.
into this passion project, and
Yeah, I watched.
I commend her for her work.
I watched Dead Meat's Kill Count on it, and he talked about the behind the scenes and stuff. And definitely go watch that.
Oh, I did too.
Yeah.
I watched that. I literally just watched that later today as I was getting food.
Yeah, I watched that after I finished the first one because I knew we were going to review it. So I
Yeah.
was watching that and how she wanted this to be a horror movie that teenagers felt like they shouldn't be watching. And
Yeah.
she wanted the actors to seem like actual teenagers, which they do look the part.
They
Yeah.
do.
Not like,
They do.
Uh,
you know,
They
you
don't
watch the
feel very
70s
me-
forced, which a lot of them feel
I-
forced.
When I watch the movies, because there are 3 parts, when I watch them, I actually Googled the ages, and the ages vary a lot. And I was like, you know what, I was actually impressed because I when I Google it, I obviously there's a lot of movies and stuff, you know, they use older people and make them look younger. Like, I don't know, like Tom Holland in Spider-Man. Like, I was convinced that he was 16 in the first one, even though I knew that he was 20. But like, so
Yeah, but
I was even though obviously I know this, but I was very pleasantly surprised, I would say, when I saw that the ages varied so much. Like, I think one guy that I looked up, he was 22, and another girl was 27. Like, the ages varied, but they all made them seem like they were
they
teenagers.
feel young.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe like these were 16 to like 18-year-old people like
Yeah.
trying to solve this. Like that's something I was very much convinced on. It shocked me to just figure out that these ages are a lot older. Like this was a very type A class of
Yeah.
like casting, and they did a very good job.
Well, what they did,
And
with all
and these
three
are people
movies-
from different horror genres all around that have already been in this type of field. So congrats to them.
Yeah.
These 3
Yeah.
movies were all filmed back to back to back. So
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
actually
And they
able
were from
to
Georgia, which
keep
gotta
the
love
con-
that.
They had to keep
I-
my neighboring state. They had to keep the constant flow of filming all the movies back to back, which was probably a hassle, but they got it all done and they made it look good. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, it's not just one big homage to horror movies. It has its own direction once you get into the later movies.
Yeah.
This
Like,
first one it feels like a love letter,
yeah.
and that love
Oh, they're
letter
all
is
love letters
very written.
to
but
different
Yeah,
the
types.
first
you know,
one, the second one,
I-
and
I-
the third one, it starts to become its own thing.
I might have to get a character from one of the movies. I might have to put them in the council chair, one of the council chairs, because you know we have
Absolutely.
we have a few
The
open
little
spots here.
kid, like the little brother figure, definitely him. The
Ooh.
guy with the
Yeah.
computer.
Ooh, yeah,
I
yeah,
love
Oh my
yeah.
god,
That would
dude,
be cool.
he was without him, they all would have got fucked up real
Oh,
bad.
yeah.
That they
He's
all
that-
would
Yeah.
have got murked.
He's the dude from Scream who's like, "Don't ever stay. I'll be right back." And the guy goes, "Be right back." He
Yeah.
was the
You,
one
you know,
who was like theory crafting.
do you know where he actually started as an actor?
No, I don't.
He started on like Nickelodeon or something.
Really?
He started. I remember the first time I saw him, which was I think the first job he ever did essentially as an actor. I remember I watched a TV show on Nickelodeon where he plays like this like cool, not brother, but he's like the friend of like these 2 main characters, and he was the cool guy with the cool father who was like a celebrity, and I like even in
Oh.
that like that TV show like it's one of those like things that has come after our time that's not as good,
Yep.
but like his
I know what
character is
you're
actually
talking about.
enjoyable, and his like uncle or whatever the fuck is also enjoyable, and I've always liked him as an actor. Like anything I've seen him in, I've always been like engaged into. You know what? If he's in it, even though he is young, so he hasn't done too much, but like when I see that his name is on something or his face, I always get a bit intrigued because I know that he's a talented actor, and I think he does a great job here. I think his name's Benjamin something, and he's a really talented actor. I think he really brought it in this film. I think all of the actors really brought it. I think that the characters were all very convincing, and I think that they were able to, obviously the clothes is one thing, but I think the way that they acted, the way that they delivered their lines, I think really also set the time of the movies. I would say
you can
that,
really feel the '90s
yeah,
vibe off of it,
I think that,
especially with the soundtrack. Just
yeah,
listening to the soundtrack.
I
I
felt the
love I love
soundtrack
the
was
music. The
very.
music in these
oozing
movies were
with
fucking
90s.
amazing. But I will
I
say,
felt
Apparently-
the
Oozes.
soundtrack was very overwhelming because it was like, but 20 minutes into the movie, you've heard like 12 different soundtracks. all in
but they
fast
were
Yeah,
all
but it's
good
different when you
though.
like that music. You don't really get distracted by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just
Apparently,
pointing
this
that out.
movie, the development stage of it started in 1997, and Hollywood didn't even pick up the project until 2015.
No,
So
yeah,
it
like
sat there and-
they're
crazy.
based on real books that they had on
Yeah,
the
they're
ropes
based
for a
on R.L.
long
Stein.
time.
You know the
Yeah.
R.L. Stein,
Yeah.
famous of Goosebumps.
Mhm.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did
And
a lot
like this
more.
was like his side project that was a lot gorier than Goosebumps, and you guys know anything that has R.L. Stein's name on it, it's gonna be a hit. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, even
He's
though
he's a
at the
king when it
beginning-
comes to horror.
Even at the beginning in the bookstore, it says what the R and the L stand for on the Fear Street books. I can't remember.
Yeah.
The name right
Yeah, and that's like his like a little like what's it called?
Because
Like a little
the Fear
cameo.
Street little homage. Because the
Yeah.
Fear Street books, the Fear Street movies are not just copy paste from the books. There's certain characters that come in and they take inspiration from, but it's its own
Yeah.
thing. It's just
Yeah, they
it's
kind of
not
do their
copy-
own little thing with like they wanted to like pay homage like to these books, but they didn't just take any random book and made
Mhm.
it into a movie. Like no, they actually wrote their own story with these books. Like this, I don't.
Yeah.
They
If
just
I
took the
might be
character.
mistaken, but I don't
Wh-
think
which-
these are
which-
from any like previous books.
Which I also think is a very smart move in multiple ways. Like, one, because I think that in the case like this, I think it makes a better product. I think that when you have a base story in a book, I think that if you're gonna make a movie or a series, mostly a movie or a movie series, I think that not going straight word for word after it and then but rather go a bit off it, like keep the core, but the story is different. The characters might be different. The characters act a bit different. I think that that's the best formula for making movies. But another thing that's smart with it is, if this is a hit, which I assume it was, I mean, I fucking loved it, and we all loved it, so I assume it probably did well. It also opens the room for a TV show. And then in a TV show, what can you do in a TV show that you probably shouldn't do with a movie? You can follow the books. I'm not saying that word for word everything is going to happen exactly the same, but with a TV show, you can base it, you can make it closer to the books, and you can keep the stories more narrow. And I think that creates a way for them to make a series if they want to capitalize on the movies, which were pretty good. I wouldn't put it past
the same
them,
way
really.
they did with the Goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like, Goosebumps was like one of the most highlighted series, like from R.L. Stein, like that. That's
Yeah.
how I got to know his name. It was from just the Goosebumps
Goosebumps,
show.
Yeah.
It
Definitely
scared
everybody
the
that's
shit out of me when I was a kid. So
definitely
I don't think that's too far off of them doing like a new generation of Goosebumps, but just with Fear Street.
Yeah.
Which there's
They
plenty of
definitely
books
made
for them to
like-
do it off of.
Yeah, definitely for making for people older, because these are for more teenagers. Fear Street is. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, this
feels
is
like a
meant
movie
for like
that-
older audience, older, more mature people.
So that's more. It's focused around us. We're in our 20s or close to that.
Yeah.
This is what it's hit for.
Yeah.
I definitely
Absolutely.
felt
Alright, let's start into the plot of this movie. Let's
Oh,
really
yeah.
dive into this.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
Let's go ahead.
As someone who's good on gore, the kills in this movie were very satisfying for me. Someone who
No,
was
they're very.
Yeah, they're
oh
very
my
good.
God. They were. They
Amazing.
did not hold back in this movie at all.
Especially with that grocery store scene.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my.
They didn't hold
dude.
back
Yeah.
at all.
Bro, the
No.
grocery
Ugh,
store
so
scene was the
nasty
best.
and
Like
gory,
like
and I love
the listen, like I know this wasn't the worst thing. I'm not saying that this was the worst thing, but like the drowning was actually kind of painful to watch.
I
It
felt like
was.
it was too
it
long.
was held for so long too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was drowned a
You-
lot.
That
Like, she didn't try to
that was why
struggle, she just
that's
held
why
her
it was so
hand.
painful as well, was because it's like it was going on for so long, and I was just like, fucking hell.
Yeah,
You
but
just
you
wanted
don't
it to be
take that
over
long to
with.
drown.
Yeah,
You don't take that long to drown, by the way. That is not how that works at all.
I mean,
Yeah,
it did,
exactly.
but I think, you know, if anyone
was
calls
more
them out,
spin.
they're gonna come up with some, like, you know, it depends on the lung capacity, which is kind of true, but still,
But she was just in the
But
hospital.
still, she wasn't
Yeah.
thrashing
Just
or
being
anything
a
like
car.
that. She just kind of held her hand and waited death with her, which is, I think, is really more poetic in itself. That
yeah.
she trusted her lover to just kill her and
But
bring her back. Like, that's the amount of trust that I don't think I could have in anybody.
Exactly.
another thing that, or there was two things that I pointed out was like when she got drowned, I just turned to my friend and I was like, well, they can't use the fucking like the respirators now, they like, or whatever they're called, like the fucking
Oh,
Plastic
the
respirators.
yeah, like you
Oh, the
can't
super-
brings everybody
fucking
back
shock
to
her to life
life.
now because now she's full of water. But
Yeah,
also
that'll kill her.
my other thought
Insides.
was, I'm pretty sure like if she had taken the drugs, then this would have made sense. But I don't think using the EpiPens.
Oh no, that doesn't work.
No,
out.
that didn't make
I was
any
like, that
sense.
doesn't work when you
Someone
drown.
And plus, she gave her
No,
like
it doesn't.
5 of them, and so that girl would have died because she injected them 5 times.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like,
straight
okay,
to
so
the chest
I
and
pointed
not
out a
enough
few
time,
issues.
like
I
it
was
was
like,
supposed to.
okay, well, it does
Hey,
if she had
she's
taken the
gonna
drugs,
die.
okay, one thing. But like, I was like, if
She
she
did it
taken the
straight into
drugs,
her chest.
yeah. But also,
they would've
She
kept going
didn't
with the
hit any
drug
type of
plot.
muscle. Like, you're
Yeah.
supposed to hit a
If they-
muscle.
If they would have kept going with the drug plot, that would have made sense. But like, they
yeah,
just straight drowned her, shot her up with 5 adrenaline shots. One, when she drowned, if you immediately give them adrenaline, they're just gonna drown again because there's water in their lungs.
like I turned to my friend and I was like, you know, okay, we'll forgive it because the movie's pretty good. But I was like, okay, if she had died of the drugs, she had taken the drugs. Okay, great. The EpiPens, if she had used them right, at least, they could have worked. But when you drown someone, it's not the same thing.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I was like, and also she has to inject the EpiPens, right? And also, there are genuinely, if you drown someone, you can just. It sounds it's not that
CPR.
easy, but like do mouth to mouth, do CPR, bro.
Yeah, broken ribs
Yeah,
versus
like,
dead is what I would take any
oh
day.
my god.
Yeah,
They only didn't stick with the drugs because they wanted to add more suspense and I get that,
yeah.
but I really wish that they had just stuck to the drugs, honestly,
gave, like,
because
a-
going out in that drowning was
yeah. like
I really didn't prefer it.
the thought that I
Yeah.
went for, like I kind of I let it slide a bit because I did like the rest of the movie, but like I let it slide.
Yeah,
but I
that's like a
thought that
minor
I thought that
infraction.
when she kicked the drugs, so like they all got spread out on the floor or whatever. My thought, and my friend as well, like we turned to each other because I watched this with a friend, and we turned to each other and we were both like, okay, now the problem is probably gonna be that she takes like the wrong. And not in
Yeah,
the
like,
wrong
takes the
order,
wrong
but
things.
she like takes the wrong amount or the wrong pills or something, and then that's gonna fuck her up. But like we that was what we expected, that she's gonna fuck up with the drugs or something. Not that she was gonna go over and drown.
Yeah.
So it was it was a bit of a shock there, but I kind of I let it slide because I did really enjoy the rest of the movie, and I think it's one of those things where you in this particular case, not in many other cases, but in this particular case, I think you can let it slide in the sense that the entire movie from the get-go established itself as this is going to be a real horror movie and a homage to the originals, but it's also going to have a state of comedy in it. It's going to be serious,
It's gonna try to do
but
the
it's going to
Stranger
be
Things route.
not that serious as at the same time, which was clear. Like the character of Simon was the perfect character to introduce in this scenario, in my opinion, because he was a great comic relief, and then
I enjoyed him.
yeah, I think
beginning I
I
did,
think he
but when he
also
said, like, oh,
really
yeah,
helped the
dead,
movie.
it's cool.
So I think that going with the route that doesn't really make sense, you know, if you know your biology, you know your science, the route that they went didn't make sense, but you can also forgive it because the entire movie from the get-go established itself as this is serious, but there's going to be a massive amount of shit that isn't serious at all to make you laugh. And then you can go the route of something that isn't realistically, somewhat, no pun intended. Like you can spare them for that because they've established that it's not going to be that serious from the get-go. And the movie isn't realistic because it's not realistic that some kid comes back from the dead and kills people. So it not being realistic, okay, yes, the humans had a general sense of being realistic, but you can also forgive it in that sense as well. Like, if this had happened in Halloween or Scream, then yeah, I would have been like, fucking hell, this doesn't make sense. Not because obviously there's some comedy here and there in Scream, for example, but the problem with those movies is that they are realistic. Okay, Michael Myers seems to have a bit of superpowers here and there, but just in general, they are realistic. Michael Myers is just in general, he's a normal human being. In Scream, they're normal human beings. So if something unrealistic like this happens, you go, well, what the fuck is this? You just broke the entire structure of the movie. But in this, everything is unrealistic already, so it's okay. In my eyes, at least. You can forgive it, I think.
Yeah, I believe so. It's more the fact that every good movie has something bad about it, and I think this is fine.
Yeah.
These three movies did really well. I enjoy them. I haven't finished the third one, and I'm still sitting on like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But out of all these three, I think the third one by far is definitely like the creepiest.
Yeah, I can see that.
I love the brutalness of the second one. That's what I liked. And then this first one was the foundation that built the rest, and I loved it.
Yeah.
It was great. It had that right blend of things, and the plot on its own, it's trying to see like, well, what's going on? Why are they trying to kill us? And they figured out, oh, this is paranormal.
Yeah.
I liked how they didn't just go with, oh, it's just some dude back from the grave, the ghost face.
Yeah.
Jason.
Yeah.
They did their own thing. It's a witch thing. It's this. It's everything they've built with from the Fear Street stories onto the movie. I enjoyed the movie itself. It was just fun. It was different. It was a breath of fresh air, but it didn't feel like it was stepping too far away from the horror slasher genre.
Exactly.
It stayed right where it needed to be. It had all the elements it needed. And I think we should get this lady who directed it to definitely do some more.
Yeah, I think that she could go on to do some great stuff. I think there are a few up and coming directors now that are definitely someone to look out for, especially when it comes to horror. I mean, we've already established what's his name? Aquaman.
Juan. Yeah, we sucked his dick in the first one.
Yeah. I think that he definitely is one to look out for. This Lei Janiak, I think that she's definitely someone to look out for. I think that the guy who did the Invisible Man, he's definitely let's see, what's his name? Leigh Whannell. He is definitely someone to look out for because he's also really good. Also an up and coming director. I think that there's a few to really look out for now, and like I'm definitely gonna watch out for their names if I see a new project coming out, especially if it's horror related, because it seems really good. And yeah, I mean there are just some people that really understand it. Some people that are coming up now that really understand what to do and what not to do.
Right. A few things I had to add was backing up to talk about the comic relief character we have in this movie. I think, and this is just my opinion, I want to hear what y'all have to say about it. I think the only person that I can honestly think of that would have done a better job is, I'm not quite sure what his name is, but from American Horror Story, the blonde character.
Yeah.
Silver. Here, I'll bring his name up right now.
You mean Evan Peterson?
God, I can't remember his name right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, he's great.
Oh yeah.
He's the guy who plays Quicksilver, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
He would have fit that role amazing.
Oh yeah.
For that comic relief,
he would have
character.
killed it.
He would have actually absolutely destroyed it. But I think part of the reason they didn't is because these young Disney actors coming into their first horror
Yeah.
movie into Century Fox, and I think that's why they didn't go that route, because he is a big name. He's no longer a
Yeah.
Disney
Let's see.
actor.
Yeah.
This whole cast is all Disney actors from different Disney shows and movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
another
the
thing,
guy that they
they're
cast,
all new.
he's 21, and his first project was in 2018. He hasn't done anything big name before this, but after this he's done a few things. So
After this, they're gonna start looking at him a lot more closely.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I think that we have definitely. I mean, I think the entire cast here is definitely someone to look out for, but I think he fits a very specific type of role that I think that we don't really have enough of. That I think that he will
Yeah.
probably, if he plays his cards right, which wouldn't surprise me if he does, considering what he's just been part of. I think that if he plays his cards right, I think that we could be looking at a massive star. I think that he would get calls all the time about playing roles, and I think if you consider how his role in this movie was as well, I saw that I think that he could easily also play a serious character. And I think that if you can balance that, both you show that you can play serious, but also be the comic relief. I think you're set, because I think that he could easily play a serious role as well. So I think that he definitely is someone to look out for, really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And I think this Fear Street, the trilogy they have, is one of the very few trilogies ever that, you know, I would consider a top 10, where this is one of the trilogies where all three movies are just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it works as a trilogy, and it also works just on their own, each one of them.
Yeah.
And that's
And
hard
I
to do
think
from a filmmaking standpoint too.
exactly.
I
Like,
think
a lot of people
watch
lose
For all of them
interest.
to make sense individually and together, that's not an easy thing to do.
No.
If you cut out the last like 30 minutes of part 3, then you could watch part 3 first, and then go back and watch part 2.
Yeah.
And then go
Yeah.
back
That's
Yeah.
true.
and
But-
it'll all make sense.
Well, I haven't seen 2 or 3 yet, so don't say
I
anything.
also think that another thing is, like, I think that this is the first real horror trilogy, because like I don't think we ever had a horror trilogy before in this sense, because like obviously you have Halloween 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, or whatever the fuck, but there are no like set trilogies that establish a certain time period. Like, I mean, you could kind of say it with Halloween H2O, and the 2018 version. They're kind of connected.
I don't want to talk about H2O.
No, I'm no, I am not. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that they kind of, but not really, because they're not. They're not a trilogy. Then you have, like, you don't really have trilogies. Like, you have 2 movies. Like, you have the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. That's a 1 and 2,
Okay.
and they're obviously set together. But I don't think you have any real established trilogies. But I mean, I would even say, like, if you take like Scream 1, 2, and 3, even if they were set to be a trilogy, they're not good as a trilogy. This
Yeah, they're
is a
not as
fucking
good
great
individually.
trilogy,
Why?
because like I think that you can watch. Let's say you watch the first Fear Street. This is gonna just hear me out here. This is gonna sound a bit dumb, but you could watch that and be satisfied in a sense. You could watch that as a movie alone and be like, that was a fucking great horror movie.
Yeah,
And it just
Yeah,
just
you don't
ends on a
really
massive
have to go
cliffhanger, just
to-
leaves you wondering. You don't need to watch
Oh,
part 2 and
God,
3 to be satisfied, but watching 2 and 3 just satisfies you even more. And that's one of the things that I think made this trilogy so great, is just how like they managed to make part 1, obviously is part 1, so part 1 could easily just be a separate singular movie at the same time as it's a great trilogy. And that's something that's really difficult to do, which I think that they really knocked it out the park in this one. I think this is a great trilogy, and I loved all 3 movies.
Yeah, they were great.
Well, I will be spending some time watching 2 and 3. I just recently got off 1, and I'm still just getting over how good it was,
Yeah.
and how much it impacted me. Like, like a lot of the scenes in there, like just they really made me happy as a horror movie watcher.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what the reaction would be if this was released in theaters, because it was
Oh
only
my
released
Oh my
in
god.
god! Well, the funny
it
thing
did
is,
premiere. It premiered at the Los Angeles State Historic Park, actually.
The first one?
Yeah, but it didn't go
Yeah.
worldwide. It was just
no,
in
it
that
didn't go
one
worldwide.
area. I
Yeah,
don't know, I
no,
think
it
They
got
actually
impacted by
planned to release in
COVID.
theaters,
But
but
like
Disney bought
imagine these
Fox,
these three being
so Netflix
released.
picked it up.
Let's say let's say that part 1 was released this year in cinemas. Part 2 released next year in
Next year.
cinemas, and then part 3 released the year after that in cinemas. I think that this
there'd
these
be a hype
movies,
train behind it.
yeah, I think that these movies would have gotten even bigger and even better reception than what they have gotten now. Obviously, it seems like they're
I'm just
well.
glad Netflix picked them up before they died out.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm really
Yeah.
happy
And I
about
think
that.
now is the perfect time to place down your horror movies, because
Yeah.
they would have placed it in 2019 or 2020. One, you got Avengers: Infinity War was just coming out in 2000. Avengers: Endgame was just coming out in 2019.
Yeah.
And then 2020, you had at the start you had all these Marvel movies that were coming out that were seconds or stuff,
Mhm.
and then you had also the last Star Wars movie.
Yep.
And you had all these big names that were coming out with stuff. And then you had recently Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League on HBO Max. You had
Yeah.
all these Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings.
Yep.
I think now
Yeah.
I haven't watched
all
it. I'm gonna watch
been-
that.
Same.
Yeah, I've watched it. But after now, all those have been released, I think it'll be the perfect time to release it, because we just got finished with Candyman. So
Yep.
now let's release this. It's new, but it's also the same thing, familiar. We got all this news about these great horror content coming later,
Yeah.
and then release it next year in between all
There,
the other.
there's in what is it, like only a week there's coming out a new Halloween movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
about
so
to
w-
release
w-
now.
which by the way,
And what
we have to do a review about that.
Oh yeah.
I
obviously, but-
think with Fear Street, I feel like if the third one would have came out, as in, like when Endgame was coming out, if 1 and 2 had already been in theaters and the third one came out along with Endgame, I feel like in the box office they would have been neck and neck with each other because of how good this trilogy is.
Yeah,
It's not
that
as
wouldn't
big of a
surprise me.
name
That wouldn't
as
surprise me.
Avengers.
You know, I don't
No,
really
it's not as big of a name as Avengers, but just the production value itself and like
Yeah.
how well they work and work alone or together, just it's amazing.
Because
I don't
I think that what
fast
the
for
thing about the
Endgame.
big name as well, because like it's obviously it would never be as big as Endgame, because Avengers Endgame is coming off of the
It's
edge of
one the
Avengers
biggest
Infinity
movies
War.
ever released in cinematic history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that I think that they would probably, I think you're on something there with saying that they would be neck and neck, because yes, the name isn't as big, but with the amount of hype and everything that part 1 and 2 would have built up, no matter how big the name is, I think that horror movie goers, or people like us who love horror and science fiction and all that stuff and superheroes, I think that they would have been neck and neck, because people like us would go and see both. Superhero fans would go and watch Endgame, and then every horror movie fan that has
Would have
some
went to see
sort
Fear
of,
Street.
that has a
Even casual
good
moviegoers.
sense. Yeah, even casual
Yeah,
moviegoers
just went and
would
saw
go
it
and
just
watch
like
this
he
because
did.
of how good
You
part
were
1 and
going
2
down.
was.
like this movie. I don't think it would have gotten anywhere near Endgame, honestly, because Endgame's had such a build up from 2008 for the first Iron
Endgame
Man.
was basically an event.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was.
yeah.
Every
It
moviegoer
was.
got to be a part of. I don't even classify it as a movie because I remember going into Endgame on day one. Endgame and Infinity War are the best movie experiences I have ever been a part of. It really was like a special event for humankind to
It
watch
was.
that
Yeah.
be released.
Well, if you're like me and several other people who read the comic books, you knew already how things were going to plan out. You knew they were going to win, but it was
Yeah.
like they've built their own universe.
Everyone. I think every Marvel fan has read the Infinity Stone. I think everyone's seen it.
I
Though
mean, I mean, like,
actually have not read any of the Marvel comics, so I want to, but I haven't yet.
yeah, I mean, I get it. I think I think it says a bit about, you know, how deep my comic knowledge goes when I say that I have seen Howard the Duck have the Infinity Gauntlet with all
Yeah.
Infinity Stones. That says a bit about how deep I've gone, bros.
Now, if we talk Star Wars comics, that's a whole new thing, bro.
That's a whole new thing.
That's
Been there
very,
and done that.
that's very different when we get into Star Wars content.
And we have podcasts that will be filled with that. Let's just say that. Coming in the
Yeah,
future.
And
Future.
I will say, Fear Street, I think is, and you know, this is a hard opinion for me because I love everything Star Wars. That's the reason we started this with Star Wars. But I think Fear Street blew fucking 7, 8, and 9 way out of the water.
Oh, yeah.
How
Oh,
well
absolutely.
definitely.
That's not even that's not even a factor.
Like
Not even.
like,
They ruined 7, 8, and 9.
I think that
If they
the
didn't release,
the
they'd have killed
the
them.
only
Like, killed them.
there are only two defenses that you can have for those movies, and that is, okay, you know what, 7 was
Star
okay,
Wars.
you know, 7 built up hype
Seven,
for
I think
7 built up hype for 8. I would say that I would say that 7 is good, and then you could be like, yeah, well, 9 was fucked up because 8 was fucking shit because of Ryan Johnson. So you can make an excuse for why 9 was bad, but you can then also make an excuse for, well, one of the movies were good. All 3 here was good. I loved all these 3
were
movies.
good.
But with the sequel trilogy,
Well,
don't even get me started on. I don't even want to talk about 8, 9. All I try to do is play devil's advocate and defend it because, well, Ryan Johnson fucked it up for J.J. Abrams. So that's all I do for the 9. I don't want to talk about 8 and 7. Well, you know what? I can have a good conversation about that because I enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
That's my
And
view.
I think
our own podcast devoted to that, so let's try to steer away.
Yeah, let's
Yeah, we'll talk about that
keep
later.
ourselves on Fear Street here, guys.
yeah.
So
I think with Fear Street, they did a really well job with having that, you know, the whole the public picture of how relationships are nowadays.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that was crammed down your throat, but still acceptable.
No, it
And-
wasn't. It was very easy to accept how things
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
well, in the '90s, gay people weren't really all that out like.
were. Dude,
are.
they had like
They had
I couldn't
nothing.
even imagine being in that timeline and like just not being accepted like that. And because obviously it is a completely different world where anybody can be anybody who they want to be with no subjugation and stuff like that. But back then, like that was very taboo.
Yeah.
That was against
Yeah.
the American standard of how to live. Like,
Yeah.
and they both, spoiler alert, the two main characters, they're
Yeah.
gay for each other.
And-
They're
and-
lesbian couples, but
And it's
it
even
doesn't really matter because their chemistry works.
yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
I don't have a problem with that. I want to see good chemistry between good characters.
Exactly.
And that's
With-
what I got out of this experience.
That
And
was a
I
great thing
I
about this
rooted
trilogy.
for them the
really.
whole time. I rooted for them the whole time during that movie.
Yep.
To
And I really
me,
liked how they
every
backed
relationship
up
here
mom.
was realistic. I think that
Yeah, I
every
like
relationship. Now I'm
believe
not
every
going to go too
relationship.
much into 2 and 3 because that's for another podcast. But all 3 movies, great chemistry, believable. Like the brother and sister thing in this movie, great. The gay relationship with the ex that, you know, like, well, she kind of wanted to hide
With
that they were
Sam.
together. All of this was really convincing. I thought it was great. I thought this movie established
just-
a
you
lot of
can
characters in a
see-
great way.
Whenever they talk to each other, you get this sense that they have this passion and they have this history with each other.
Yeah.
It's really kind of unspoken about whenever they're around each other. And that's just something I love, deep dives like that, to where they act like they've been together forever.
Yeah.
And actually, during the first part of the movie, I didn't expect them to go this route because the brother literally says to the sister, "You just need to get over Sam." And then they do this weird shot where they go to Somerville
Yeah.
and it shows like a guy and a girl, and automatically
You
I
assume it's the
assume-
guy.
You
it's
assumed it was the
Sam's
football
that
player,
douchebag Sam's that douchebag guy, but then no, like 10 seconds later she looks up and she says Sam, and it's the girl, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
What?
great.
Really?
And I'm telling
I
you,
don't-
you gotta give it to those actors because they sold those roles of
Yeah.
being in love.
They did,
Very
and then after that, I was way more intrigued. After that because I'm honestly, I'm really kind of tired of the same basic storytelling of lovers that I see all the
Yeah, it's
time
the same relationship
in
all
these
the time.
movies. It's the same one every time, no difference, no build up.
Yeah,
I'm all for representation if it's represented good.
yeah,
That's what I
Right.
like. I like representation that's good and believable.
yeah.
And
Well,
I
it
fully
wasn't
supported this.
But
Like I fully supported their relationship and everything they went through
it
together.
wasn't a whole like, oh hey, by the way, they're gay like the entire movie. It
Yeah,
was
Yeah.
that I don't even think they.
with it.
She only said the word lesbian because she was making fun of her,
Yeah.
like in their argument that they had, like, oh,
Like,
they
Yep.
just don't want to be with a
she said
lesbo.
like the Leslie or something from Shady's side or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, like
The
you don't
les-
want to be with the lesbo from Shady Side.
Yeah.
Like that's like the only time that word's even mentioned, and then
yeah,
Or like even
it's
gay.
like never mentioned again.
It's not shoved out there that this is a gay, that these people are gay. It's
Yeah, no, like,
which is
there
also
as-
it's great because they don't push like they don't push the political agenda. Like
just full
no,
of-
like
to me
it's not like, hey,
I
we're
have nothing
gay, look at us,
if
we're
you
gay.
want to
Like, they don't
push
say
if
that.
you want to put a gay couple in a movie or a show or whatever, that's fine by me. It's just when they push it down your throat to be politically
And they
correct,
make it a point
that is
every
when it's a
4 seconds
problem.
to
But
spill
in
it
this
out.
case, it just came so naturally. Like you almost don't even notice it. You're like, yeah, these two
You
had a
really
relationship.
don't. You really don't.
And
Yeah, the
it's
chemistry
really
showed
great.
through the movie, and the scene that really popped it out, that really proved the chemistry between them two, was when she threw the cooler out of the back of the bus in
Yeah,
the car crash,
Oh
and
my
she came
god,
running
dude.
up to
Her
see if she was
first thought
okay.
Yeah.
was to save Sam. She didn't give a fuck about the rest of those people. Her love was Sam, and really, love is one of the
Yeah.
strangest things people can have. Like, love works in very mysterious ways.
yeah,
You can love anybody, and it kind of takes over you. But just to see her care and concern for someone that she loves, which is not hard to see. And
Yeah.
I really loved her performance and
Yeah,
showing all of that emotion.
actors-
especially after that argument they just had too.
yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
they
that
were
argument was really heated. That argument had some very low
I
blows
felt
between the
awkward.
both
Really
of them,
good.
actually.
I felt awkward.
Like calling her
for the
father
other
a
actors.
deadbeat drunk,
Yeah.
and then calling her a runaway, like how she was scared to be like and afraid and like scared to be with her. Like those were some low blows between the both of them.
Yeah.
And
But
I
they
felt awkward.
also really I think that they made that, like we're talking about just the general characters and stuff like that, but I think that they made that fight believable.
It was really good.
Discrepancy was very believable in multiple senses, but I think that the best way was the words they used and how they said it to each other, because that's where a lot of like movies fail, is like when they like when two peoples have a discrepancy, whether it be an old relationship or friends or whatever, the dialogue becomes so choppy and doesn't make sense. It's not realistic. It's just like poetic, but it's not even good. But in this sense, it was really realistic. Like, you know,
It's really kinda hard to listen
they
to them
use
argue
they
like
use the
that,
slang
too.
that made sense. Like they use words, and the sentence and the structure was all, it all made sense and was all realistic. So you didn't sit there like, well, this conversation isn't
No.
believable. It was
Yeah,
believable.
you can tell. You didn't look at the dialogue and say, "Oh yeah, that's definitely someone from like 2020,
Yeah.
21 that wrote that." Like, no, like it didn't sound like that.
felt before.
It's not like this is some 40-year-old person that has written dialogue for
That's
teenagers
trying
thinking
to
that
sound
sounds
like
cool.
Yeah, he's trying to sound like that.
It was
but no.
believable.
Have y'all ever been in
Yeah,
the
it sounds
middle-
like this is something that like a teenager in the 90s would talk about and would sound like. Like
Yeah.
that's. I really did enjoy that.
Have y'all ever been in the middle of like a couple arguing? Like it's just you chilling there, and then the guy
Yeah,
and girl-
being the third party
Yeah.
and having to listen
Yeah.
to that.
'Cause the
It's really
guy-
awkward to be in
they were in the
between.
hospital yelling. That guy standing there, I felt awkward for him.
Yeah.
And I could just imagine the killer behind the thing, just with his mask off. Like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, oh shoot, they throwing low blows out here.
Hmm.
I'm gonna break. The
And then
ice.
her
I'm
boyfriend just gets
breaking
stabbed to
the
death, and I was like,
tension.
"Oh, thanks, he's gone."
Yeah.
I was like, let's break the tension. Okay.
Yeah,
the
that cemented that they loved each other. Whenever the boyfriend just got
Yeah.
absolutely.
But
gutted.
also, I
front of both of them.
like the way that I thought that they did well in trying to establish that the person lurking outside her house like they did a good job trying to establish that was the boyfriend.
I honestly thought it was Peter. I
Yeah.
legit thought it
Yeah.
was him.
Yeah.
Peter was one thought, but I thought, okay, you know, I was like, yeah, you know what, it wouldn't surprise me if this is the boyfriend. You know, it wouldn't surprise
I
me.
had no thought.
was a
I
boring
didn't think it was Ryan
surprise.
Torres at all.
No,
I thought it was just.
And whenever
somebody
he pulls his mask down, like we were talking about this earlier, but like that scene where he pulls his mask down at the hospital and you see his face with the gunshot,
yeah,
that threw me for a loop. I'm like, how? How is this possible?
yeah. I was like, what the fuck? Okay, I was like, okay, so they're bringing zombies into it. Okay, cool. Let's
Like-
go. I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
It looked awesome, honestly.
Yeah.
The makeup and stuff. The
And he just
practical
murdered
stuff.
every like. The thing I love about this series, like this movie in particular, is everybody is a viable threat. Like
Yeah.
whenever they step into the room, you can feel how dangerous these people are, and no one's holding a gun. They're all personal with axes and knives.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
get right
Like
up close
when-
and personal to our heroes, and then you get scared for them.
It's
You feel like the
it's
moment
like
they get grabbed, it's over with.
it's like with Tommy, you know, the guy with the axe. Like anytime
Yeah, the
he is
Nightwing
on
killer.
screen, you
felt scared.
feel the heavy steps. But also one thing that I even
feel the
pointed
power
even
that's in
pointed
the
out
back.
was the accuracy, speed, and power with every single blow.
He felt
Like
reading
he had
It felt like a
accuracy.
Yeah.
tank.
Exactly.
He had accuracy, he had power, and he had speed with every fucking hit. And also, he was the only one that fucking sprinted. He fucking sprinted.
Dude, he ran
was
fast. That was a big man, but he was
you were
moving.
like, okay, yeah, this guy's a fucking tank. You don't want to fuck with him, even if he wasn't a fucking murderer psycho. You meet this guy in football, you're fucked.
That man was easily 6'3", 280 pounds.
Yeah,
Swinging
That
that
was
axe like
the
it was
Jason of the
nothing.
movie by far.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Like I said,
And
love-
like
that was
you,
definitely
I love the
Jason of
hacky
the
sack
movie.
that he had on his head.
yeah,
That's what-
like you
Yeah,
saw you
Rick
saw
was-
that was another homage that we pointed out was like immediately flannel shirt. Flannel shirt and that like sack over his head.
Like-
That is
like a
from
corn
Friday
sack,
the
kind of.
13th, the second one where Jason is first introduced. That was
and
the greatest
I
homage.
love that.
But at the same time,
But really, I think the most
people
interesting
different.
one was the singing girl. I think she captured my attention the most
Yeah.
because you could just hear her like. You guys know what a siren is in Greek mythology?
Yeah,
Oh,
The sirens, the way they sing and they captivate you,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden they just murder you
yeah.
like that. I feel like just her presence was the scariest because she seemed so like inviting until you get
also,
up close and personal with her, and then
the-
she slashes
the-
your throat.
there's just something
Yeah.
about being cut by a fucking like barber blade that is like
oh, right.
fucking hell. Like it's like a
That's-
paper cut, just
It's
worse.
Oh,
But also,
Way
one
worse.
thing that
Ugh.
she actually reminded me of was the whatchamacallit, what are they called? From Pirates of the Caribbean, the
yeah, the mermaids.
mermaids, yeah,
Yeah, the
the
sirens.
mermaids. I
Yeah, which are
was like,
also
it
different from
reminded me of that
sirens.
as well. Like that type of character in books or in movies or anything are always creepy, but they're always like fascinating in a sense because it's like they
But
lure
you don't know
you
how
in.
to take them.
And I think that another thing that they also bring that makes them so interesting is, what do you think that you would do in that situation?
Oh, I'd have been dead for sure. Like I
No, but I don't think like that.
Immediately.
It's like, do you think, like for example, I question this at least. Do you think like, okay, would you have been lured in that same way? Would you have stood back and questioned it,
Oh,
or
no,
what would
honestly-
you have done?
Oh, in that scenario, if I'm just walking out in the middle of the night and I hear some girl singing like that, oh well, no, I'm dipping. It's over.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
exactly.
not
Creep-
that
creepy
curious.
chick.
I'm not that curious.
Yeah,
No, he was just standing in the middle of the street, and homeboy walked up to her like, "Hey, you all right?" Or no, she was sitting on the curb. That's what it
No,
was.
yeah.
was
She
sitting in
was
a
sitting on the
corner.
curve in like a foster.
I was like, "Nah."
But okay,
Nah.
okay.
I don't like that. That's
Here's how I
sketch.
would die. I have a natural instinct of if someone's hurt, I want to help them because I keep a first aid kit in my bag.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
same.
Alcohol wipes and band-aids, sewing kit, all that stuff is in my bag. I carry this bag around with me everywhere I go. If it's not on me, it's near me. And when I first glanced at her, I thought, oh man, maybe it's like a girl that was hurt by the skull mask guy or one of the other people to make it look like someone's hurt to trap them. And so me being me wanting to help them, I probably would have walked up and to her and said, "Are you hurt?" And then I died.
Yeah.
That's
Get
how I
get
would.
can
See,
can I?
I'm all about
I
that mind my business scenario.
yeah.
That's just some
Facts.
random girl like singing by herself and like
Singing
basically
beautifully
midnight.
though.
No,
Singing beautifully, my friend.
no, no.
Yeah,
That's the problem. She's
That
singing
one's
too
beautiful.
good.
It was
She's
creepy.
she's singing too good.
Yeah,
She's
it's
singing
like
way too good for
you
that to
too
be
good to be
normal.
crying right now. You're too good to be crying. You that ain't nah that ain't it,
Nah,
Chief.
nah. That's it for me,
Which
Chief. I'm gonna
but
have to back away.
but by the
creepy
way,
level
by the
was
way,
on par with the kids from Nightmare on Elm Street when
yeah.
they sing Freddy's song.
La
It was
la
on par
la
with
la
that.
la la la.
Yeah, no, I don't fuck with that.
But
No.
by the way, speaking of
Don't
Chief,
do that.
guys,
Don't do
speaking
that.
of Chief, there's one thing that I want to delve into, which, you know, it comes up more in 2 and 3, but we can discuss his role in this movie as well, which was pretty big. Mr. Nick Good.
Oh,
Yes.
dude, the sheriff.
He is a
After
he is a
watching these other
fucking
two movies,
even just in the first
He's an
one, he's a
idiot.
fucking but he's an interesting character though. Cuz like
yeah, he,
you wonder so much about the because you know like he seems like an alright guy, you know, when for example
Yeah,
what
he seems like trustworthy at first.
after the car crash, you go, you know, he seems like an alright guy. You know, he sounds convincing when he's like, "Yeah, I'm trying to help you." And he seems like one of those cops that is like he's friendly with the kids. Like he lets them slide when he can, but but when he actually like takes them in, he does it in a kind of good way. That was the role that
He plays the
I
good
thought.
cop.
Yeah,
Plays the good cop on
he's a very good cop in my eyes. And then all of a sudden, when they're at the station, and you know, first they're both dicks, and then he starts to listen, but then he fucking breaks it. Then he breaks it and goes.
well,
When they go, okay, so you don't believe us, and he goes, what the fuck? No, of course I don't. He didn't say that, but like when he then all of a sudden he breaks from the I believe you to, I don't fucking believe you. Like, what is this? This is just some dumb story, and you go like, well,
Well,
what
really,
the fuck?
it is.
really,
It's
what
a-
doesn't make any sense to me is
Yeah.
that he should believe them. Like at the point, like why wouldn't you believe these girls when you've had a string of murders throughout your entire town,
Yeah.
and you let some girl get murked in the very beginning of the movie because you weren't fast enough
But then
to
again,
stop the guy from stabbing her in the face.
yeah, but then
Like I'll take any advice I can if all the people in my town are gonna get killed, and then he goes right after that to the hospital where they just came from. So
Yeah.
all that evidence would point that these girls are telling the truth. And I don't
but
have
then
any
again,
reason to
like
lie to them
also
for that.
another twist that makes him interesting is he seems good at the end when you know like when they're talking about like you know when they're talking about like well are they gonna blame our friends, and he is there like listen, I don't he is like I don't want this, I want to help you, please give me some reason. And that's when you go, well, okay, maybe
and
he
they all
is good.
stonewalled her.
He's such a mixed bag, and that makes him such an interesting character. I really liked his character in all 3 movies, but like in this
Well,
one,
you realize that the governor in the next town is his brother, right?
yeah, exactly,
So they're going
Yeah.
back and forth between trying to hold their towns together.
yeah,
So you can like feel this like little competition that he has like to make his town just as good as Somerville's, but he can't.
you okay, well, Guy and Deadpool, we all of us have seen all 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Vector,
I haven't
just
finished
wait
the
until you see part 2 and 3, okay? Just wait,
We
okay?
can't.
Oh, I
we
can't
can't talk too much because
We
he
can't
hasn't
talk
seen
too much.
2 and 3.
Like I'm just talking about the
I'm
first
a
movie.
one person at a time. I didn't know if we were gonna. I didn't know if we were gonna do all 3, or else I'd have just binged it out today. But I was
No.
under the
We're
assumption that we were all gonna
only
wait
only
on
doing only doing part 1 today, and then we'll do part 2 and another
Well,
another day,
don't-
and then part
well,
3
ne-
another day. But you know,
Well,
I
I'll binge 2 and 3 tomorrow
yeah. So I
because I can't. I
fucking
literally
loved
can't
him.
wait.
I loved
Can't wait
his
to see
character.
the
Like
plots in the store.
as a horror fan, he was a fucking great character. Just the way that he was on and off. You never really understood. Never really knew what he was gonna do in this movie. I think that he was a fucking great addition to it, and I think he's also, you know, when we talk about the homage, I think that he was a very good mix between the cop that is always understanding but sadly ends up dying. He's the one guy that believes the characters, but he sadly ends up dying. He was a good mix of that and also uh the cops that just don't give a shit. That they just like, yeah, sure, dumb kids. He was a good mix of both of those, and I think that made him a unique but very good character. Because like at first you go, okay, well, this guy seems like a good cop, someone that the characters are probably gonna trust. Then he becomes a dick. Then all of a sudden you go, okay, well, he seems to want to listen. Then he becomes a dick again. And then towards the end you go, okay, well, he wants to respect these two friends of the girl. And he wants to respect that, so you like him, but you still sit there at the end questioning, what is this guy's deal?
So speaking of like paying tributes with characters, I got a strong feel from him. I can't remember the dude's name, but from Friday the 13th, and you play as him in the game, the one who actually killed Jason.
Oh,
That's what. Yep. That's who I got a feel for in the beginning, and then events unfolded, and it slowly faded away. But at first, that's what I was picking up was that character coming out in him.
Yeah.
It was such a good movie.
Yeah, I think this movie was great.
Just thinking that was one because I watched Candyman not too long ago, the newer one, and I just was really disappointed with the film.
Yeah.
But this one, I was really hoping was gonna be good. Something I thought, oh man, she's another.
Like Candyman wasn't all that good. I was really kind of expecting to see it.
Yeah, same. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm cautious to what I believe yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet either.
It was more for this one, I was looking at like, oh man, it's just another thing of Netflix just taking a stab at horror movies. It's not going to be good.
Yeah.
And I was really hesitant to watch it. I was really busy all this week, so I couldn't watch it. And then today, I just binge watched all of them. But
yeah.
I'm not done with
Yeah.
Oh my God, guys!
Exactly
Well, one thing we haven't talked about, which we probably should have, like, a massive turn of events. You know, when the skull guy when he breaks into their house and he doesn't attack them,
Oh my.
and you later figure out what was he looking for?
Yeah.
The fucking blood.
Yeah, the blood.
It was the blood.
blood.
All
Yeah.
of a sudden, all of a
That
sudden, you go
made-
like, "Oh my God, Sam has so much more to do
God.
with this story." Like
Dude,
you just go, "Wait,
she
okay,
was
so
the
hold
main
up.
focal
This
point of the whole
motherfucker just
story.
ran past him, and all this shit happened. Well, what the fuck? Oh my God, Sam's the fucking key. They're after Sam because she touched the
Anne is
grave.
the key. Because
Yep.
of her nosebleed from the car crash.
Yeah,
And she kind of coughed up blood. I think it was clever to do that. It gave drive for everybody, and she didn't just feel like a love interest. She felt
Yeah.
like she was important to the story after that.
and it
Right.
created an
Everybody
epic
else.
scene as well.
Oh yeah, for everybody else.
But-
The bathroom scene when they trapped all the characters, I fucking love that. And then all of a sudden
that
they
was
all
fun.
come
I did
back.
too.
I was like,
And
fucking
they
hell.
actually played it. They actually made it something really smart. Like they didn't. Like that was a very smart way to get rid of your enemies. Like it just
Yeah.
wasn't some basic bonk over the head, encapsulate, like get rid of them type of thing. Like no, like they
It was fucking
planned
smart.
that out.
And also
that's what I love
you know, with foreshadowing, her using the vent over the stalls, which was
Yep.
where they
Yeah.
kept the drugs earlier.
Yeah.
Like, you know, these
I kinda
movies,
picked up on
these
that
movies are all
too.
full of amazing foreshadowing. Which, like, foreshadowing, like if you use it wrong or use too much of it, it can
Everywhere.
be very overwhelming. But in this movie,
and
I
it
found
could
it
give away your
fucking
movie
amazing.
way too fast.
Because in these movies, especially just in the first one, like anything you noticed, like to me, I sat through the entire movie going, okay, wait, could that be foreshadowing for something? Some of the things weren't, but that only made it better because like it kept you on your toes. Like, okay, wait, could that have something to do? Oh, maybe that. And it was just, I think it was
kept you
absolutely
focusing
brilliant.
on every element and every second during the movie
Yeah.
instead of, getting sidetracked with something else. Where most movies you can sit there and play on your phone and still understand it. This one, because of the amount of foreshadowing, made you sit there and just analyze every single scene throughout the whole
Exactly.
thing.
I was like doing chores or whatever watching this movie, but as I got like 30 minutes
Oh,
into
yeah.
it, I completely stopped doing it and I just watched it because I realized like, oh, this is that type of movie.
Yeah,
I need to pay attention. If I need to understand.
just realizing like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm gonna fucking pay
My
attention to
Netflix
this.
autoplay,
Yeah.
It's not some like white background noise like movie. Like no, like this is something like you got to pay attention to.
Yeah, like
I
this
got a
is
pile of
something like
dishes.
even if you rewatch it, you don't just sit on your phone. Like you pay attention.
I'm paying
Like you could
attention.
even probably, if I
I like
rewatch this
it.
2 or 3 times, I could probably pick up something new every single time.
What I was
Yeah.
doing was for the first one and the second one. I'd finished the first one, then Netflix just went ahead and played the second one, and I was like, man, I'm gonna. Started to play a little bit and got them in there talking. I was like, man, I should probably start doing the dishes a little bit today. So I grabbed my little Bluetooth earbuds and set them on the table, and I started linking them. And I'd look up at the TV, be interested in what's going on. And I was like, no, gotta do the dishes. And I keep trying to go back and back and back. No,
Yeah,
gotta do the dishes. And then eventually I just gave up and put my headphones back in the case and just sat down like, yep, I'm just gonna watch this one.
yeah.
Like,
Like that was the thing for me as well. Was like me and my friend, like we were only. I was like, yeah, I only need to watch the first one for the podcast, but then we were like, fuck it. I mean, that was fucking good. So let's watch the second one as well. And then when we watched that, we were like, yeah, we're just gonna watch. You're gonna go home late, but you know what? We'll just watch the third one. We were both like, yep, all right, let's watch the third one. That was fucking great. So we just couldn't stop. Like we were both like, we were straight. Okay, from the next one to the next one, because they were all fucking great. But like the first one, I think, you know, a lot of people talk about trilogies and they say like, the second one is the best, the third one's always the weakest, and the first one is always a good setup. In my eyes, now I don't know which one's my favorite out of 1 and 2, but I think that the first one might be the best. Now my favorite is something completely different to which one I think is the best movie. I think that the first one might be the best movie out of all of them, and that's not saying like if you watch one you shouldn't watch the other two, because the other two are fucking great, but the first one is just a fucking amazing movie, and it could do well, just as I said earlier, it could do well just standing on its own. Like the plot twists, the how everything goes, like the importance that all of a sudden gets put on Sam's shoulders, the grocery store scene where you just have no clue, you think you win, but oh fuck, no,
And
they'll fucking die. Pretty much, and you're just like, well, what the fuck is this?
Well, both Simon and what's the girl's name? We just said
Kate.
Yeah, both Simon and Kate, I thought were gonna make it out alive.
Yeah, same.
And it really threw me a loop that they both just got immediately.
They both got fucked, and like I was also like, you know, it looked
really
towards
sad.
the end, it looked like they were gonna win. You know, Sam seemed like she was down with a plan, and they were gonna do this, and they're gonna succeed, because they'd succeeded technically with the bathroom thing. So I was like, yeah, they're gonna succeed with this, but no. I did not want them to die either. Like I was like, I don't think that Kate is gonna die. I don't think that Simon's gonna die, and I don't want them to die because I liked both characters. But no, another thing that was also good was they weren't scared of killing likable characters.
No, they weren't.
Like
Yeah,
a lot
they
of
were not.
TV shows and stuff like that, they're afraid of doing it. But if a
They don't wanna kill off
TV
their
show,
good characters.
like for example, like this is going a bit off the rails, but like The Walking Dead, they're not afraid of killing lovable characters. Like
That's
fan
Game of Thrones.
favorites.
I don't want to talk about Walking Dead and killing off favorite characters right now.
No, me neither, because it kind of just makes me sad. But still, some of them I expected because I read the comics. But anyways, like these movies not being afraid of killing off technically fan favorites, people's characters that people are going to love, killing them off. It's fucking bold, but they fucking did it in a fucking great way, because you don't expect it. And you know what? Like as much as it angers me because I like both characters, I fucking love that they actually killed them off, because fucking.
That shows a lot of like maturity on their part, that they don't have to keep their they don't have their characters hold up for them. They want their story to hold it for them.
And also, like,
not a lot of people are gonna kill off their characters because they're scared like they won't be able to hold up.
And like
I think
like
they really showed a level of just they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
They're making 3 movies that work together. There's foreshadowing in the first one that links to the second and third one, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're just going to kill these people off because fuck you. You like them. We want you to feel the pain that these other characters are feeling.
But and even another thing is like you kind of, they also give you this one thing that I thought about during the first one was like, at the end I was like, well, okay, so they're gonna kill her anyways. So my thought was like, okay, well, they've killed off these two very likable characters. Are they going to play the easy card and go like, well, they killed them, to make this, but then they come back to life when like Sam dies?
Yeah, I thought that was gonna
See,
happen too.
I was so scared of them taking that route in this movie, but they didn't. At the end of the movie, you're like, well, they're both fucking dead. We have no clue what the fuck is gonna happen next. And I think that was just amazing. This movie just had so many great things and also they didn't chicken out of roots that they could have chickened out of, like that a lot of modern horror does. And I think that's definitely massive props in their favor, is their approach to certain situations, and with characters that people love, they could easily chicken out and figure out some dumb solution to why they survived, but they didn't. The entire time you're reminded, like, okay, well, they're not coming back. It was great. Sad but great.
And I think
wanna-
the delivery of how they killed off each character in its own aspect was just fucking awesome too.
Yeah.
I mean, like we've already talked about it, but the bread cutter scene, the bread slicer scene, was
Jesus
just
Christ.
fucking insane.
Yeah.
Is
That
great.
was
I
crazy
actually
to
sent a
see.
Snapchat
It was
to
really
my wife
gory
at the
too.
time
Yeah.
Whenever I was watching it, and I sent it to her in a Snapchat, and she was just like so horrified over Snapchat.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck did I just watch?
It's fucking horrible. But then also another thing that was great was like when they go in later and Josh comes in and he looks at the bread cutter and just sees her still there.
And he just gets axed off.
Yeah. When
Like,
when Simon
there's
gets
no
killed,
break in
Jesus
between
Christ,
their deaths.
when Simon gets killed, the fucking comic relief, like you just don't really expect it. It just comes out of nowhere.
Your jaw just drops.
Yeah, like you expect something to happen, but you didn't expect him to
Nope,
all of a sudden just have a
immediately
fucking
killed off.
axe in his head.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, the same.
Was the amount of practical.
I thought they were just gonna go the whole route and
Yeah.
kill everybody off, since they killed off.
Yeah, they
Like
killed.
they killed everybody off. I thought they were gonna kill off the main characters too. I thought the brother and sister duo were well they're dead too.
Because
I guess that's how this is gonna work out.
my thought was then I was like,
If
okay,
not the brother.
yeah, my thought was like, okay, so they're all gonna die, and this is just all three movies are just gonna be different stories about like different
How
characters.
they all lost.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so this is just like, these are just telling the stories from the town about like how all these people die and no one knows how. But no, they don't kill off the main characters, they stay alive. But you're still wondering, well, okay, well, where are they gonna take this? Okay, so if they switch this back, if they solve this, do their friends come back? Because clearly no one has done this before. So what is gonna happen? And you just sit there wondering.
One other person.
Yeah.
Yeah, scary story.
Yeah, the one chick did.
Yeah.
But I haven't gotten into
Yeah.
that, and I can't really speculate on that just yet. That's just what I know from what I watched.
It explains it, and you're gonna be so fucking like, holy fuck! You're gonna have like a completely jaw-dropping moment. You're gonna absolutely love it.
But mostly
I can't wait to
even
figure out what happened.
part
Nothing you
3,
expect either.
part 3, there are some parts that are gonna shock your boots off, bro.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
The first twist is fucking like, you're just like, what the fuck? The second twist, like the last 30 minutes or whatever, you go, hold the fuck up. What? And it's just like, what the fuck just happened? Like, you're gonna be so, like, obviously we're gonna review these two as well, but like the second and third has some fucking twists that you just don't expect. And the second is also a prime example, the second one is a prime example of the same thing that we just discussed, the killing off characters or doing something negative to characters that are very likable.
Yeah.
That the third one is a decent example of that, but the second one's a fucking great example of that.
The second one.
Well,
is
speaking-
brutal, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Speaking of just random like kills, not really unlikable characters, but kills that really took you by surprise, is whenever they went and she saw Sam in the hospital and they were talking about the boyfriend stalking, and the boyfriend comes on and is like, what are you talking about? I've been here all night. And then
He
boom,
just dies out of
fucking
nowhere.
dies.
And yeah.
That nigga gone.
It's like if you look back, you can be like, yeah, okay, I could kind of see it coming, but right there and then when you sit and watch it, right there and then it comes as a
I had
surprise.
no
Like
clue.
like
I had no clue he
looking
was
back,
coming
you
up.
might be like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, I could probably have seen that coming, but you just don't. And that's the thing is, it's probably a thing that if you delve too much into it before watching the movie, you could probably see it coming. But you don't really do it when you're just sitting there and your mind is just going circles. Like you're just wondering, okay, what the fuck is going on? And then all of a sudden, boom, boyfriend's dead.
I think
Yeah.
the most, what really set the tone like for how these kills were gonna be, was the very first one where the girl is just getting stalked in the bookstore.
Yeah,
I can really feel the tension of how, oh, they're gonna kill people off like
Yeah.
this, because
yeah,
like
and-
whenever he stabbed her, like he sliced her gut, I could feel that pain in my stomach.
Yeah,
Of,
the
oh,
sound
Yeah.
of
that
Ki-
sucks.
ki- oh, another
then-
thing, like going back to like the homage thing. That was one
Oh,
thing that me,
God.
me and my friend, we didn't even say something. We just looked at each other like with a little cheeky smile. It was when she takes the phone and just hides behind the desk. We were both like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So because like obviously that's one of those dumb hiding spots that people choose just before they die. So we were both like, okay, yeah, okay, we're going this route now, are we? Okay, cool. And then we both actually expected her to just be chopped or whatever the fuck, but she didn't. Which was also like a little like it's a cheeky little twist because it's like first your reaction is okay, well this we've seen this before, but then she doesn't die right there, which was a pleasant surprise in my
Yeah,
eyes.
I think what it was John Yak knew what everybody as a horror audience expected because of the movies that have been coming out,
Yeah,
and
She had to do
she
something
implemented
different.
the setup for it and completely changed the delivery.
yeah,
yeah. If you watch the first scene of Scream where they're killing the blonde chick, and then you watch the first scene
Yeah.
of Part 1 of Fear Street,
Yeah.
they mirror each other almost exactly.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that
Yeah.
that, that, that was
That's- yeah, that's
what
what
I
I'm
was
talking about,
thinking
the
as well. Was
homage
like, yeah, this is just
in
a
the first
homage to
scene.
Scream.
They both just about to escape, and then the killer catches
And
them.
then she gets stabbed. That knife in the back, that really hurt. Like
Yeah.
seeing her almost getting away, and then he just reaches out, and
Yeah.
then there's just
I gotta
no
hand it
escape. That's her friend that she was just talking to
Yeah,
earlier.
that and then like that was actually like kind of it's not like I cried at it, but it was a bit emotional when she's just sitting there like, it's
And
me,
she's just
it's
saying,
me.
"Why are you doing
Because
this thing?"
that was actually, you know, like usually when you watch movies like this and like the killer is someone that the victim
Like,
knows.
no.
Usually it's just like a shocked expression or something like what or something. But in
If
this
he
case,
looked at her
I
like
would
she
actually
was
say that
like
this
she
is
was
the
black.
most realistic
Yeah.
death by a relative or someone you have relations with I've
Yeah, it
ever
was her
seen.
friend,
Where she
like, that
like
worked with.
when she's there trying to like be like, hey, it's me, as if in her head he isn't himself or whatever. And I think that's actually the most realistic thing. I'm not saying I haven't been in this situation, but I think that her being there trying to convince him, like, listen, remember, it's
And
me,
she's being
I'm your
stabbed to
friend, and
death.
all that. I think that was very realistic, the way that she reacted to seeing that he was the killer. And I think that was really good because like the entire scene had been taking, you know, it had been making a bit of fun, but it had also like mimicked Scream, like when she sits down with the phone, which mimics Scream, but also her just hiding behind the counter with it, you know, is a bit like haha. And then it cuts to this where she is almost there. Then this motherfucker comes out, gets her down, and then she figures out this is the guy that I've just been talking with. Someone that she clearly considered a friend, and it seemed like he considered her a friend as well. They had a really good relation, it seems like. A relationship that I've seen with multiple friends, that type of like, the way that they went off each other. And then all of a sudden, she's like, what the fuck, this guy's killing me. And then she tries to be like, hey, yo, it is me. Hey, it's me, your friend. And I think that scene was just really, really good. And it was a good chop. Like, just like, okay, done with the funny shit. Boom. Her friend is killing her. Okay, he gets shot. He's dead now. They're both dead.
Yeah, that was very good. It wasn't like this drawn out. He got up and started running after cop. The cop just took him out there.
Yeah.
That was good. That was a good way to save time.
Yeah.
And the effects on every single kill, it wasn't CGI'd. It was just straight practical effects.
Yeah.
And I loved
I
it.
did
Yeah.
appreciate the
Yeah.
lack of CGI being used in this movie.
Yeah.
Because obviously, all these movies, like, they just think, oh, the CGI will carry my movie. But the fact that they use mostly as practical effects
Mm-hmm.
made me even happier.
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, practical effects is way better than CGI because it looks more
Yeah.
realistic.
Mhm.
What I did like too, speaking of twists, was at the very, very end, whenever everything's said and done, and you're like, okay, that's the end of the movie. The grass is greener on the other side kind of feeling, and
Nope.
then it shows the main character get the phone call from the last survivor, and they're like, "There's no escaping the fear witch," and then
Yeah.
it shows Sam possessed trying to kill her, and then she gets tied up. It was just insane.
You just go like, what the fuck? Oh my
Well,
god! So there is no
I thought
ending to
that
this.
initial stab was the end of that was the end of
Dude,
her. I thought she was
seeing
gone.
her like them like make love and like be happy with each other
Yeah.
only for
And then boom, just twist.
oh my god, then she
Dang.
gets stabbed too, and I thought, well, that's the end for the character.
Yeah, like I thought
The main
that stabbing was gonna be the end, and then when you see the camera zooming in on Josh, I was like, oh my god, she's gonna kill him as well, and then this
Yeah.
is just how it ends.
Yeah,
But no, it
Yeah,
ends
that's
on a
exactly
fucking
what I thought was
massive
gonna happen.
cliffhanger, and I was like, and that's also why I think that this could be this could easily be a one thing that makes it great is it could easily be a standalone movie. It's just the way
Yeah.
that it ends, because it ends with you being like, okay, so they're not gonna get out of this, and you could easily just leave it at that. But they decide to capitalize on it in a fucking brilliant way in number 2, which we're gonna discuss later, and then even better in number 3. Like the movies just fit well together. Just
Another really small like little pleasure that I had in the movie is like it did have that really like 1990s throwback feel where everything has such a like blatant name to it. Like you have sunny side is the good town,
Yeah.
the good town. Shady side is the bad town. The witch's name is Fear. Like just all this stuff that just right in your face tells you what it is, and you just don't really see it. The cop's name is Good. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
it's just crazy.
The movie all in all was great. I think we should start to wrap it up, guys. So anyone have any final
absolutely.
words about it? I mean, we've
have-
spoken very highly of it. Anyone have any final words?
I want to go ahead and
Yeah,
give a
my final words is that if anyone who hasn't seen this after all that we've said,
Yeah,
please,
like
as a horror movie fanatic, please give it a watch. I promise you won't be disappointed with it.
like even
I
if you watch this podcast first, this movie, even with spoilers, is probably just gonna be fucking great.
yeah,
and
that's just how it
then
is.
watch
I don't
this.
really think we spoiled enough of it to be
Exactly,
honest.
which I think is actually alright. And then if you watch this and then fucking treat yourself with number 2 and number 3.
Yeah,
'Cause
don't
they're
do it.
fucking
Watch
amazing.
all of them. Just watch all of them. Don't
Just
do it
watch all of them. Just
So I think
So
I'll-
my final words. Oh, go ahead, guys. Sorry.
no, you go ahead if you want to do final words.
My final words is, we are probably, as of right now, we're planning to do movie reviews. To all the listeners out there, we're planning to do movie reviews on Thursdays. We're obviously doing all 3 Fear Streets for these first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
If you have any recommendations, just go ahead and shoot them in one of the comments. And I'm sure one of the 5 of us that are all in this group, 4 of us right now, but one of the 5 of us will definitely see those comments and definitely talk about it in our chat room on it. So don't feel any way about just throwing in a comment, hey, you should check this out, because we'll see it and we'll definitely contemplate it.
yeah.
If you don't mind, Ferno, I think I'll do the outro this time since you did last time.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll throw out my final words then, and then you can do the little outro. I mean, I love the movie. I loved all 3, but this one kept me on my toes, and I think it was, as we have said, just an amazing horror movie and a really good breath of fresh air. And it actually, it's just in general, it's made me really excited for the future of horror. Because a few recent movies have been like, yeah, okay, that's a good movie, but none of them have really been a breath of fresh air, because there's been a lot of shit as well. But this particular one really gave me hope for like what's gonna end up with, how this is gonna go, and makes me excited for the future. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right, guy, take it away.
Yeah.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to give a huge, huge thanks to Deadpool for pointing out this series to us because I had never
Yeah.
heard of it. He would have said nothing.
Absolutely got to thank Deadpool for
Thank
that.
Yeah.
you, Deadpool, for bringing this delightful trilogy into my life. Even though I rushed
Absolutely.
it last second. I want to thank everybody who's watching the stream right now. A huge thank you. Everyone who's going to be watching this in the future, whether it be on YouTube or Twitch, a giant thank you. Your support is going to carry us through the rest of this series.
Yeah.
And a huge thank to Fernode for inviting me and the rest of us onto this whole podcast thing. And thank you very much for watching. Subscribe on YouTube and follow on Twitch and hit a couple of like buttons. Just press some buttons. I'm sure something will work.
Yeah.
Yeah, just hit that like and hit that like button, please. Hit the like button.
Yeah.
Hit the like button. We need money.
Please.
Uh,
We need the
please.
money.
We're desperate.
Yeah, sure.
And we will try and catch everybody in the next podcast, which will be Sunday.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for watching, and bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.